This is your weekly report on corruption in the Philippine government. Janet Lim Napoles, the alleged brains behind the pork barrel scam that prompted series of criminal charges against lawmakers and other government officials more than a decade ago, got another set of conviction from the Sandigan. This time it's over the diversion of the 7.55 million pesos Priority Development Assistance Fund of former Davao del Sur Representative Mark Douglas Cagas IV. The Sandigan Special 3rd Division has also handed down the guilty verdict on Dennis Cunanan, the former Deputy Director General of the now-defunct Technology Resource Center, Maria Rosalinda Lacsamana, former TRC Group Manager, and Rodora Mendoza of the now-abolished state firm National Agribusiness Corporation. In a 149-page decision promulgated on Friday, Napoles was found guilty of 2 counts of graft and another 2 counts of malversation. Cunanan and Lacsamana were convicted of 1 count each for graft and malversation, the same with Mendoza. Napoles was sentenced with 12 to 20 years for the graft charges, 20 to 34 years for the malversation charges. Cunanan and Lacsamana, meanwhile, must serve 6 to 10 years for graft and 10 to 14 years for the malversation charge. Mendoza, on the other hand, was also sentenced 6 to 10 years of imprisonment for graft and 10 to 18 years for malversation. The case stemmed from Cagas' endorsement and selection of the People's Organization for Progress and Development Foundation Incorporated and Social Development Program for Farmers Foundation Incorporated, both non-government organizations operated and controlled by Napoles, as project partners for the lawmakers' district supposedly to provide agricultural production packages to his constituents. POPDFI received 2.7 million pesos from the PDAF of Cagas, while 4.85 million pesos went to the SDPFI, according to the court. State prosecutors noted that the processing of the PDAF had allowed Napoles and the others to take possession and thus misappropriate PDAF-drawn public funds, instead of implementing the PDAF-funded projects, which turned out to be non-existent, and that the selection of the organizations for the projects did not undergo public bidding. In the case of POPDFI, the court ordered Napoles, Cunanan and Lacsamana to pay the fine equivalent to the malverse 2.7 million pesos and to indemnify the government with the same amount with interest. For the SDPFI, the court ordered Napoles and Mendoza to pay a fine of 4.85 million pesos and to indemnify the same amount also with applied interest rates. In convicting them, the anti-graft court pointed out that although the concerned NGO can validly implement the PDAF projects, the accused should have still considered the indispensable requirement for public bidding in the case of the funds disbursed to POPDFI. The Sandigan also said that the prosecution satisfactorily established the extent of the participation of Napoles, Cunanan, Lacsamana and Mendoza in the cases. The court also cited the General Appropriations Acts for the fiscal years 2007 and 2008, where they said that no specific NGO was named as an implementing agency of PDAF projects and that only government agencies such as the TRC and the Department of Agriculture were authorized to implement the projects. As a general rule, all procurement shall be done through competitive public bidding. Read the decision penned by Associate Justice Maria Teresa Dolores Gomez Astosta, with the concurrence of Associate Justices Aldi Trospices and Ronald Moreno, the chairperson of the Special 3rd Division. However, when an appropriation law earmarks an amount for projects to be specifically contracted out to NGOs, it is the intent of Congress to give due preference to NGOs. This exception is inapplicable here, and since there is neither an appropriation nor an ordinance earmarking the amount of the PDAF for the implementation of the NGOs, the court stressed in its decision. The decision also states that the transactions involved in the case will have to fall under the general rule, which includes the conduct of a competitive public bidding. In the instant cases, the evidence clearly confirms the fact that the here are non-governmental organizations concerned, namely, POPDFI and SDPFI, were selected on the basis alone of the endorsements of accused Cagas, the court added. The court also pointed out how the 2 NGOs selected by Cagas for the PDAF projects were fully controlled by Napoles, since the latter selected the stockholders, directors and incorporators of the NGOs, and that the funds used by the NGOs were provided by her in having full control over the funds and bank transactions. Thus, with the foregoing conclusions, accused Napoles acted with evident bad faith and in conspiracy with the accused public officials and employees to defraud the government through non-existent NGOs and projects, the court said. The court noted that evident bad faith entails a deliberate intent on the part of the accused to do wrong or cause damage, and that this must be shown that the accused was driven by a corrupt motive. For them, Napoles was spurred by corrupt motive. Herein, the circumstances established show beyond reasonable doubt that accused Napoles was spurred by corrupt or ill motive when she conspired with the accused public officials and employees to defraud the government. It also stressed 10 officials from the Department of Public Works and Highways 1st District Engineering Office in Bulacan have been relieved from their posts pending an investigation into alleged ghost projects in the province. Public Works Secretary Manuel Bonon said on Friday. This development followed reports on the existence of such projects in some districts, which Bonon confirmed during a Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing on Tuesday. During a phone interview with Inquirer.net, Bonon said that the officials were not fired but were placed on floating status for the time being. The DPWH regional office has been overseeing the district office since the officials were relieved almost 3 weeks ago. He also said, among those relieved were former district engineer Henry Alcantara and newly appointed district engineer Bryce Hernandez. Alcantara had earlier been recommended for the position of Assistant Regional Director of DPWH Region 4A. Bonon said the recommendation for the new post came before he was released from duty. It actually went through the process. His qualifications. He was recommended because he applied, he said. The relieved officials, along with the contractors involved in the alleged ghost projects, are also set to face sanctions from the DPWH. Bonon said he had already issued a memorandum requiring the officials to explain their side, adding that if their explanations are not found convincing, the necessary charges will be filed. He further said more officials could eventually be relieved from their posts once the government completes its report on these bogus projects. Although scrutiny of flood control projects intensified after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s recent State of the Nation address, Bonon said the president already had information on anomalies prior to his speech at the plenary hall. This information, Bonon said, was what prompted the relief of the 10 officials. There are findings or information about what is happening with the projects in their district office, Bonon said. This explained why Marcos, on Wednesday, conducted an inspection in Purug 4, Barangay Peel, Baluag, Bulacan, to see for himself the supposed location of a reinforced concrete river wall project in the community. He discovered that the 55.7 million pesos project does not exist at all, despite official records labeling it as completed. In a privileged speech last Wednesday, Senator Panfilo Lacson said Alcantara and Hernandez share the same love for money, citing information from his staff. It was even reported recently that one of them was able to lose hundreds of millions in a casino here in Manila. Lacson alleged, Mr. President, in this engineering office, under the leadership of the 2 aforementioned officials, for the year 2024, there are 28 projects, each worth 72 million pesos. He also said, in the same speech, Lacson disclosed the existence of a ghost flood control project in Sitio Dike, along the Magasorang Tubig River in Norjan, Oriental Mindoro. The project had a contract cost of 192.9 million pesos and was already declared completed. Yet, upon inspection by Lacson's team, the project was found to be non-existent. The ongoing scrutiny into flood control projects in the country stemmed from Marcos' warning in his recent SONA that those involved in anomalous flood control projects would be held accountable. Weeks later, he launched the SambongSapangulo.ph website, where the public can report any questionable flood prevention project in their area. Marcos also revealed that around 60% of all flood control projects since 2022 either lacked clear descriptions or were located in different areas, despite having the same contract cost. He also disclosed that 15 contractors accounted for 20% of all flood control projects nationwide. The National Police Commission on Friday formally filed administrative charges against former Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Director Brigadier General Romeo Macapaz for fabricating a case against a whistleblower in the ongoing investigation into the disappearance of several Sabongers cockfight enthusiasts. The Napolcom's Inspection, Monitoring and Investigation Service filed charges against Macapaz before the Legal Affairs Service for grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. In the pre-charge investigation, we found probable cause to file an administrative complaint for grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer against Brigadier General Romeo Macapaz. IMIS Staff Service Director Edmund Perez told reporters in a press briefing at Camp Crame in Quezon City. Pears said 2 others named in the same complaint were cleared due to lack of probable cause. Napolcom Vice Chairman and Executive Officer Commissioner Rafael Kalinizan assured the proceedings will be impartial. We are not condemning anyone yet. We will observe due process. We promise both the respondents and the complainants that their cases will be handled properly. There is no influence, no money that will be involved in the National Police Commission, Kalinizan said. Whistleblower Julie Patadongan, alias Totoy, and his brother Eliakim filed a complaint against Macapaz before the Napolcom on the 14th of August. The Patadongans alleged Macapaz attempted to paint them as the masterminds behind the abductions of at least 34 cockfighting enthusiasts between 2021 and 2022. In the complaint filed by the IMIS, Macapaz was accused of deliberately obstructing the probe during 2 separate incidents in July. According to the charge sheet, Macapaz unlawfully seized the mobile phones of Eliakim and his brother, Jose Patadongan. He refused to return them despite repeated demands. Macapaz also allegedly altered key evidence by deleting messages contained in the devices. Macapaz's actions impeded, obstructed, and frustrated the pursuit of justice in the missing Sabungerous case, which remains one of the most controversial unresolved cases in recent years. Read the complaint. Authorities stressed that the alleged acts fall under Presidential Decree 1829, which penalizes obstruction of justice, carrying an imposable penalty of imprisonment of not less than 6 months and 1 day. Napolcom noted that such actions also amount to grave misconduct. Macapaz told reporters he would answer the accusations against him before the Napolcom. Eliakim was caught after using the automated teller machine card of victim Melbert John Santos, who went missing in Santa Cruz, Laguna on the 13th of January, 2022. Jose, meanwhile, was seen in a video escorting another victim, Michael Bautista, who was handcuffed at the time on the 28th of April, 2021, also in Santa Cruz town. Administrative charges were filed yesterday against an official of the Philippine National Police Academy who allegedly sexually assaulted a PNPA cadet in Silang, Cavite last month. The National Police Commission said the official, who was arrested shortly after he allegedly committed the offense, was assigned at the PNPA Tactics Group. Complaints of grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer were filed against the respondent before the Napolcom's Legal Affairs Service, according to Edmund Pears of the Napolcom Inspection, Monitoring and Investigation Services. Napolcom Vice Chairman and Executive Officer Rafael Vicente Kalinizan said they would give the accused, a police major, an opportunity to express his side during hearings. Several processes will be conducted to show the pieces of evidence and stipulation of facts, Kalinizan said. Earlier, charges of acts of lasciviousness were filed against the officer based on a complaint filed by the 23-year-old victim. Reports said the officer asked the cadet, who was drunk, to massage him at the academy's barracks. The officer reportedly took off his clothes and ordered the cadet to do the same. The complainant said the officer even showed him how to perform a body massage and started touching him. The cadet sought assistance from a security guard and policeman, who arrested the officer. 5 officers of the Philippine National Police Highway Patrol Group on Friday filed a joint complaint before the National Police Commission against their former superior at the Special Operations Division for alleged bribery during a police operation in June. Lieutenant Adolfo Mendoza, PSMS Aladin Orel, PSMS Ronnie Vergols, PMSG Krisha Baroda and Pat Arnul Fontillas Jr. accused Colonel Rommel Casanova Estelano of pocketing at least 7 million pesos in bribes to protect a high-profile detainee and manipulate criminal cases. They sued Estelano for grave misconduct, dishonesty, dereliction of duty, and conduct unbecoming of a police officer and prejudicial to the best interest of the service, and sought his immediate dismissal from the service. The complainant said Estelano's removal is necessary to restore integrity and public trust in the PNP. At a press briefing held at the Napolcom headquarters in Quezon City, Napolcom Vice Chairperson and Executive Officer Rafael Vicente Kalinizan said due process will be given to Estelano. Their complaint will be evaluated by the Napolcom's Inspection Monitoring and Investigation Service. If the complaint progresses, Colonel Estelano will be made to answer, Kalinizan said. After evaluation comes the decision on whether to file a formal charge before the Legal Affairs Service. On the 13th of June, Mendoza, Orel and Vergols apprehended a certain JJ Javier and his driver in Paranaque City over a blinker attached to their luxury vehicle and the absence of the tail license plate. Javier and his companion also failed to show a valid vehicle registration. The arrest yielded a Glock 19 Gen 5 pistol, live ammunition, bulletproof vests, and a C4 explosive device. Oriel said it took them up to 3 hours to drag the uncooperative Javier to the HPG headquarters at Camp Crame in Quezon City. The case was endorsed to Estolo, but the latter claimed he was friends with Javier, allegedly a big-time sponsor when the officer was still with the Calabarzon police. He reprimanded me. He said, "Where is JJ?" I said, "Sir, he is there in the investigation section for his affidavit." So, he went there and took JJ and brought him with him inside his office, he added. Prosecutors later found probable cause to indict Javier for illegal possession of firearms and explosives. Instead of upholding the case, however, the officers claimed Estolano engaged in a series of illegal and corrupt acts to shield Javier while punishing those who resisted his directives. According to the complainant's affidavit, Javier's lawyer facilitated 3 major bribe transactions with Estolano: 2 million pesos to secure the dismissal of a case in Paranaque City, 1 million pesos for privileged treatment, which reportedly allowed Javier to enjoy special favors while in detention, including temporary release, and 4 million pesos to weaken a separate complaint in Quezon City for violation of the firearms and explosives laws. The complainants likewise alleged that Estolano filed retaliatory charges against them after they refused his order to drop Javier's cases. They asserted that the acts described constituted bribery, obstruction of justice, malicious prosecution, and violations of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act as well as the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials. Estolano countered that Javier's warrant of arrest was recalled. The truth is the complainants have nowhere to run but the Napolcom. The warrant of arrest has already been recalled but they insisted on serving it, he told reporters. The Land Transportation Office suspended the driver's license of an official of its Zamboanga Peninsula Regional Office who drove the pickup truck into a swamp in Zamboanga, Sibugay. In a statement on Saturday, the LTO said it issued a show cause order to the official, whom they did not name, over allegations of reckless driving and being an improper person to operate a motor vehicle. It is not immediately clear if the driver was under the influence of liquor at the time of the incident, but this will be one of the matters that will be looked into by LTO Intelligence and Investigation Division Chief Renant Militant. The LTO explained. The incident took place in Purok 4, Gandiangan in Imelda town on Thursday afternoon, according to a police regional office Zamboanga Peninsula report. Based on the initial investigation, the LTO official was driving a pickup truck from Pagadian City to Zamboanga City when he suddenly sped off. This resulted in the car plunging into a swamp and a video of it went viral, the LTO said. Meanwhile, the PRO9 report said, the driver lost control of the steering wheel. The incident affected but did not injure the driver and 3 passengers, all of whom were identified by PRO9 as LTO employees. 12 police officers are facing criminal cases after an arrested suspect died of suffocation in Pasay City. In a phone interview with Inquirer.net on Saturday, Pasay Police Chief Colonel Joselito de Sesto said they filed a complaint before the city prosecutor against the 12 officers last Tuesday for reckless imprudence resulting in homicide. According to Sesto, the 12 officers being charged were 6 Pasay City Police Substation 5 personnel, 5 Southern Police District Mobile Force Battalion personnel and 1 National Capital Region Police Office Mobile Force Battalion personnel. Further, the Pasay Police Chief said 2 of the SPDMFB officers face an additional case for the maltreatment of a prisoner. The charges stemmed from an 5th of August incident in which, according to a police report obtained by Inquirer.net, 7 of the officers arrested a 29-year-old Pampanga resident for allegedly causing a disturbance and damaging property at a convenience store in Barangay 75, Zone 10 in Pasay. Inquirer.net opted not to disclose the identities of the SPDMFB officers and the victim, while Sesto did not disclose the identities of the Substation 5 and the NCRPO-MFB officers. The Pasay Police Chief said the suspect entered the store's stockroom. In our investigation, the CCTV showed the victim was pinned down. It also appeared that the victim was also hit as he was becoming unruly. He was punched at the back, he explained. Magat was then brought to the Pasay City Police Substation 5, Sesto added. While undergoing documentation, the suspect complained of difficulty in breathing. Responding immediately, the officers brought him to the Pasay City General Hospital for medical treatment, the police report narrated. However, while undergoing medical intervention, he was declared dead at about 9:40 p.m. by the attending physician, it added. Sesto said the police had no information about whether the arrested suspect had a prior medical condition related to breathing. A copy of the medicological report done by the Pampanga Provincial Forensic Unit declared the cause of death was asphyxia by manual strangulation. There were also efforts to obtain CCTV footage from nearby establishments that would show them supposedly waiting for instructions from Substation 5 regarding the convenience store's possible complaint. The footage would also determine the real culprits who manually strangled the victim while under the custody of Substation 5. According to Sesto, the 6 Substation 5 personnel, including their commander, were disarmed, relieved from their posts, and kept at the city police's personnel holding and accounting section. He further noted that the 12 police officers are also facing investigations at their respective internal affairs service units for possible administrative charges. The investigation we did, it was impartial. Whether they're from the DMFB or from Substation 5, we just want the truth out so that, of course, the victim can be given justice, Sesto stressed. Inquirer.net sought comment from the SPD and the NCRPO, but they have yet to respond. Secretary Manuel Bonon of the Department of Public Works and Highways has reassigned District Engineer Isabelo Balaras of Muntinlupa City and Las Piñas to the DPWH Metro Manila 3rd District Engineering Office amid graft allegations. Rul Umali will replace Balaras as chief of the Las Piñas Muntinlupa District Engineering Office. Under and by virtue of this order, Engineer Umali is directed to perform the duties and assume the responsibilities pertinent to the position of District Engineer. Read the memorandum order signed by Bonon. The move came just 2 weeks after Las Piñas Rep Mark Anthony Santos urged Bonon to remove Balaras over his alleged involvement in questionable transactions, including a controversial transfer of flood control funds. Bonon has vowed to hold accountable DPWH officers and personnel found responsible for substandard or ghost flood control projects, stressing that appropriate criminal charges will be filed. Authorities arrested a policeman on Saturday in Quezon City for reportedly threatening 2 people, including a minor, with his firearm and forcing them to dance. Patrolman Dennis Garbin, who is assigned to the District Mobile Force Battalion of the Manila Police District, was apprehended in Barangay San Bartolome following a probe into allegations of grave threat, grave coercion and child abuse. Garbin, 28, reportedly barged into a house in Barangay Bagbag while drunk last Friday. The victims, a 19-year-old man and a boy aged 16, told probers that Garbin brandished his firearm and ordered them to dance to the music playing on their television. Police confiscated Garbin's 9mm handgun and turned him over to Quezon City Police at Camp Karingal. Following recent revelations on anomalous flood control projects, police arrested a district engineer of the Department of Public Works and Highways Friday night in Taal Town in Batangas on charges of attempting to bribe a congressman. The 51-year-old suspect, identified as DPWH Batangas 1st District Engineer Abelardo Diongle Calalo, allegedly tried to pay off Batangas Representative Leandro Levist with 3,126,900 pesos in cash in order to abandon any flood control probe in the district. The cash, placed in a green eco bag, was recovered during the operation. We should not tolerate any corruption in Department of Public Works and Highways. We should demand projects at better quality and lower cost, and obligate contractors to correct any deficiencies immediately without additional cost to government, Levis said in a statement. Beyond this case, we will push for broader reforms to address systemic problems of DPWH. Levist, son of Senator Lauren Lagarda, added. Batangas Police Chief Colonel Giovanni Emerick Sabalo said authorities received information from Levis staff about the supposed bribery attempt. Sabalo said police officers caught Calalo in the act of attempting to hand over the money. This was not a planned entrapment. Based on reliable information, our personnel responded and caught the suspect in possession of the cash, Sabalo told Radio DZBB yesterday. Calalo, a native of Balayan Town in the province, is currently under the custody of the Taal Municipal Police Station. Criminal charges are expected to be filed today at the Batangas Provincial Prosecutor's Office, where he will be facing charges of trying to bribe a government official under Article 212 of the Revised Penal Code and for violating the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Law, Republic Act 1319. On the 18th of August, Levist made the rounds in his district together with local officials and DPWH engineers to inspect projects that were damaged by recent typhoons in the towns of Nasugbu, Leon, Tuay, Balayan, Calica and Lemery. Levist has shared an update on ongoing assessments of flood control projects in several rivers, including Palico, Binambang and Pansapit, which sustained damage during recent typhoons. Meanwhile, Senator Panfilo Lacson commended Levist for the arrest. My snappy salute to neophyte Congressman Leandro Levist, Batangas 1st District. for the successful police entrapment operation against a corrupt DPWH district engineer who tried to bribe him up to 360 million pesos in kickbacks from infra projects in his district. May his tribe increase, he posted on his X account. In a statement issued by Randy Del Rosario, DPWH Stakeholder Relations Service Director yesterday morning, the agency said it was deeply concerned and was taking the matter very seriously. As public servants, we at the Department of Public Works and Highways do not condone any form of misconduct, it said. We fully support the ongoing investigation by the proper authorities and stand firm in our commitment to transparency and integrity in public service, the DPWH noted. The individual involved will be relieved of his assignment, and preventive suspension will be implemented. We firmly believe that those found to have engaged in any wrongdoing must face the full consequences of their actions in accordance with the law, it added. Public Works Secretary Manuel Bonon, who was interviewed after the arrest, said Calalo deserved his fate. District engineers with that kind of behavior deserve it. I really won't have a second thought that they deserve it when things like that happened. Leave it alone. If he is the one who planned such things, then it's over. That's really it. There's no need to visit him, Bonon told Radio DZBB. A police officer was relieved from his post for using his service firearm as a signal to start a boat race during the town's fiesta celebration in northern Samar on the 20th of August. Philippine National Police spokesperson Brigadier General Jean Fajardo said on Monday. Fajardo also said aside from the cop, his chief of police at the Lavazas Municipal Police Station in northern Samar has also been relieved from the post. In a special order signed by Northern Samar Police Provincial Office Director Colonel Sunny Amengan on the 24th of August, Police Master Sergeant Jimmy Florano was reassigned to the provincial headquarters following the incident. The PNP said the Northern Samar incident is unacceptable. While the act may have been non-hostile and did not result in harm or damage, it nonetheless constitutes a clear deviation from established protocols on firearm use, the PNP said in a statement. It said firearms are issued strictly for legitimate law enforcement operations and must never be used for ceremonial, symbolic, or non-operational purposes without explicit clearance and proper authority. The PNP leadership enjoins all personnel to exercise utmost caution, sound judgment, and full compliance with existing rules and regulations. Discipline in firearm handling is not only a measure of professionalism but also an essential element in sustaining public trust and confidence in the police service, it added. A former policeman and two alleged accomplices were arrested after police in Bulacan swiftly foiled a broad daylight robbery in Barangay Poblacion, Santa Maria on Tuesday, according to the Police Regional Office 3, Central Luzon. A 71-year-old businessman was preparing to deposit cash when one of the suspects drew a firearm and forcibly took his money. The suspect then escaped on a motorcycle driven by a cohort. The victim immediately sought help from a nearby traffic enforcer, who alerted the Santa Maria Municipal Police. Responding officers conducting mobile patrols quickly intercepted the suspects, leading to their immediate arrest, PRO3 said. Recovered during the operation were the stolen 550,000 pesos in cash, a Glock 22 Generation 440 caliber pistol with ammunition, and a Yamaha Mio MXI 125 motorcycle without a license plate, believed to have been used as the getaway vehicle. A third suspect, who acted as a spotter, was later arrested in a follow-up operation. This incident highlights the value of vigilance and immediate reporting. Because of the timely response of our personnel and the cooperation of the community, we were able to recover the stolen money and prevent further harm, PRO3 Director, Brigadier General Ponce Rogelio I. Penones Jr., said in a statement. He added that the police organization remains committed to bolstering public safety through rapid and effective law enforcement action. The National Bureau of Investigation has filed criminal charges against an immigration officer and 3 persons in connection with alleged falsified overseas employment contracts. The NBI said it filed charges for violations of Republic Act 10175, the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012, and RA 9208, the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003, against immigration officer Mohamed Rashid Madail Alonto, who remains at large. Charges of falsification of public documents, on the other hand, were filed against Ria Angelica Borda, Nora Tafala and baby Verabano Magarico before the Pasay City Prosecutor's Office. The NBI said that Borda, Tafala and Magarico were intercepted by immigration officers at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3 before they could board their flight to Hong Kong last the 20th of August. The 3 passengers were flagged for presenting alleged falsified OECs, it said. During investigation, the NBI found that the 3 passengers were recruited through a social media platform to work in Cambodia as customer service representatives. Further investigation disclosed that Primary Inspector, Immigration Officer Mohammed Rashid Madale Alonto initially cleared the 3 passengers to depart from Manila to Hong Kong as evidenced by the departure stamps on their boarding passes belonging to Immigration Officer Alonto. It also said, it added that the 3 passengers admitted that it was Alonto who initially cleared them during the immigration process. The chief of the airport police of the Manila International Airport Authority was relieved from his post amid the ongoing investigation into the alleged rampant operation of colorum vehicles at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. MIAA General Manager Eric Inez said they are also looking into the allegations that some of the airport personnel are in cahoots with the drivers and operators of colorum vehicles. Inez said Bing Jose will be replaced by Luis Cometa as head of the 400-strong airport police. He said Cometa was also tasked to act on all the complaints of passengers at NAIA. A steel manufacturing firm has sued San Simon, Pampanga Mayor Abundio John Punsalan, Jr. before the Office of the Ombudsman over an alleged 80 million pesos extortion attempt. In a complaint received by the Ombudsman last the 19th of August and obtained by GMA News Online today, San Simon-based Real Steel Corporation accused Punsalan, Jr. of demanding 80 million pesos from the steel manufacturing company in exchange of the mayor not revoking a municipal ordinance number 240025 granting tax incentives to the company. Punsalan is accused of grave misconduct, serious dishonesty, and conduct prejudicial to the best interest of the service. The person suing Punsalan on behalf of Real Steel were identified as an Erwin Chua and Melody Arellano. According to the complainant, the mayor's initial demand of the mayor was pegged to as much as 155 million pesos before it went down to 80 million pesos. Real Steel said the administrative complaint is the next step following an 5 August operation where operatives from the Intelligence Service of the National Bureau of Investigation conducted an entrapment operation at Clark Freeport, Mabalacat City, Pampanga against Punsalan, Jr. for alleged robbery by extortion. The NBI operation is a result of a Department of Justice resolution ordering the Ombudsman to prosecute Punsalan based on Real Steel's complaint. Respondent Punsalan failed to observe the norms required of his public office by demanding money from representatives of a steel plant located in San Simon, Pampanga. Mayor Punsalan should have restrained himself in demanding and accepting substantial amounts of money that redound to his private gain, disregarding public interest. The complaint read, prior to the NBI operation, the complainant said the arrangement for the payoff was made between Real Steel and Punsalan last the 2nd of August by San Simon's municipal administrator, Doc Yang, without the mayor's camp knowing that Real Steel already reached out to the authorities. Mayor Punsalan's conduct impaired the good image of government office that serves the public. Instead, Mayor Punsalan left an impression that public office is used as a tool for private gain to the detriment of honest entrepreneurs. His act of extracting money serves as a deterrent for private investments not only in San Simon, but possibly in the whole province of Pampanga. The complaint read, 2 police officers have been relieved from their posts after they allegedly raped a policewoman in Marikina City. The suspects, a staff sergeant and a patrolman, were disarmed. They are under investigation for alleged rape and acts of lasciviousness. A policewoman assigned in Marikina complained that the suspects sexually assaulted her in a patrol car in Barangay Santo Nino on the 17th of August. The complainant said she was manning her post when the suspects approached her and invited her for coffee. She initially refused, but the policeman insisted, assuring her they would only have coffee. They went to a convenience store, but instead of buying her coffee, the suspects purchased a bottle of liquor. After they returned to the patrol car, the victim said the suspects forced her to drink the liquor, warning they would not bring her back to her post unless she obliged. The victim said the suspects then touched her private parts and raped her. A barangay chairman reporting for work survived a gun attack here Wednesday morning by trading gunshots with his attackers. The Pigcoyan Municipal Police immediately launched a manhunt for 2 gunmen who escaped when Barangay Presbitero Chairman Emmanuel Doctolero pulled his pistol and traded shots with them. Doctolero, a member of a local gun club in North Cotabato, said he was walking towards the village hall on the national highway when he noticed 2 men on a motorbike moving towards him. One of them drew a pistol as they approached and opened fire. Doctolero, who was also armed with a pistol, fired back, forcing the attackers to escape. He was unharmed and could not say if any of the suspects was hit. The municipal police station is still determining the motive and identities of the attackers. That's all for this week. I'll see you next Friday with more stories of corruption and foolishness within the Philippine government.